between Land Trust and Historical Society and just Chester. With who?
Is Meg coming to?
No. She just texted me and said, not going to be there.
Okay.
It's my grandmother's yard site tonight too. I spent the day on the phone with DEP. I'm trying to make sure that I can speak to what kind of environmental life.
My father-in-law and my mother died in December. And my mother-in-law and my father died in April. So it's like the odd couples. But I don't think it's this month.
I mean, one side is a mess, but the property on the other side is so beautiful, the brook. Now there's a building behind it.
Yeah, there's 2 acres on that side. And it was remediated in the early 90s, but the new laws didn't take effect until 1996. So
Shabbos, happy belated Hanukkah.
How would I select a TCP? I filled out and put in an application for 5 to the TCP. Oh. Do you know Jenny? You know Jenny, right? Matter of fact, we knocked on your door. Yes. She was door knocking with me. And this is Marianne. Yep. And I think we did. Oh, that's so sweet. I think so. But I'm not sure. It was, okay. I think you might have come to a meet and greet at Marianne's house.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you weren't door knocking, but there was a meet and greet.
Yeah, you met at a.
You can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, no pressure.
Well, that's the thing, it's way the opportunity against the risk, right? And so that's what I'm trying to get people on. So I could help clean it up and find a developer to do something with it to make it productive. Oh, I just got that letter. Yes, I think I'll find out the letter today.
Sounds exciting.
It's scary and exciting.
I mean,
Honestly, I'm still trying to get them to give us till like February, so we can make sure that we don't have.
Yeah, what are you getting into?
But they want, they want the tax structure for 2018. So there she is. Your fan club is here. Oh, it's so small. That's because it's early.
Hey there, how are you?
Hey.
My favorite Constance Baker Motley groupie. That's great. That's great.
Mara, you met my dollars, right?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I sang with Belinda.
Oh,
That
right.
night with
That's
the-
right.
Yes, absolutely.
It's all a blur. Sorry.
So I brought books and videos, and I was wondering after the talk if you could be at the table and find them wherever I can find them. A lot of them now. Whoever, yeah. It's not, I don't have much, but. No, I don't. It's 10 and 8, 10 for the hardback and 8 and I have change. You don't need it?
Sorry, we're pretty good at explaining.
$30.
I know it's a lot of Hebrew, but it's all
And yes,
translated,
so I don't know whether I'll be.
even if you have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah.
Surprise! I just have to say that Jews, we show up late.
And they eat well.
Yes, there's always good food.
citizen?
Well, sure, but not for dollars. I said sure, but not for dollars.
They want to sell to the town for $1.
Yeah. They've been on the market for 6 years.
When I've been, sure,
$6,000.
remember 2 years
So then
ago.
I came to my office and said, we're done. A consortium of investors that gave private military to
Yeah, green color. So, because I got gifts for staying with all those parents. And then Christmas Eve, her sister and husband and baby are going to be there along with his parents. So I went to the laughter farm. I got to play piano and laughter section.
Yay.
I just got excited the other day. So it's very cute. Luckily, I actually didn't sound that way. Oh, good. Yes, yes.
That was the
So the other thing I did,
as I understood that, they used that
years ago when
power, and they also use it for watching.
the states at Christmas time,
Yeah, everything else was set, so.
just need to for your late folks, somebody had
Try to find my grandma.
to make for something. It's
Yes, absolutely.
Someone who is very crafty
Probably some sort of housing type thing, because,
Yeah.
I mean, we have their copies, we have like, look at the
It's in some ways, well, it's inside their pockets. So when you open it up, it's flat, and you pull it through pockets.
Whatever, all right.
And then you pull it together, tie it.
I thought about having like art studios and something like I would bet.
It's pretty simple. You just take this plastic one, that, some of that sticks into the bottom of there. Yeah, and then you do a couple of
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Bruchim ha'aba'im. Welcome. Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. For those of you who are unfamiliar with our book, our prayer book, what we call a Siddur, I will be announcing page numbers as we go, just a reminder about that. And if your book happens to have 2 page numbers in the corner, some of yours do, you're going to follow the ones in the brackets as I announce page numbers. You're going to follow the one in the brackets. Let's take a moment to take a nice deep Shabbat breath in and out. permission, a little bit more to relax, to recognize the end of a busy work week, to let ourselves get a little more comfortable in our seats, let a little bit of the stress and the worry just kind of flow off of us down into the earth, and instead we're filled with the joy of Shabbat, the joy of the day of rest. We are going to be turning to the lighting and blessing of our Shabbat candles tonight. And we are very lucky that members of the Social Action Committee have volunteered to sponsor our ONEG tonight in honor of Human Rights Shabbat and our wonderful speaker, Marty Daniels, who will be with us a little bit later. And so, can I please invite up members of the Social Action Committee to help light the candles? We are on page 120.
Anybody else need to come up with this?
So we are warming up, we're getting ready for Shabbat, we're relaxing little bit by little bit, and now we welcome in the presence of Shabbat. As if Shabbat is a bride, we feel that incredible sense of joy, the feeling we feel at a wedding, that feeling of celebration, of anticipation. So we turn to the prayer, the Chag Dodi, on page 138.
Be
And now, dear friends, we are still standing. We are going to turn together to page 144. Page 144 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Amen. We join together on page 149, reading in the English in the middle of the page. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, oppression, of persecution is well known, and it serves as inspiration for us to take care of others, to be sensitive to and compassionate to the struggles of others in our world who are not yet free, who are oppressed, who are persecuted. And so tonight, on this Human Rights Shabbat, as we turn to the moment in our service where we always recall the Exodus from Egypt, and we always recall the moment of our experience of redemption and hope for the redemption of others, I share with you a prayer written by Rabbi David Friedenreich called A Prayer for Human Rights. Our God and God of our ancestors, do we not all share one parent? Did not one God create us all? And you have bestowed your dignity upon flesh and blood. It is well known and obvious in your sight that whomever can protest against wrongdoing in this world and does not protest is held accountable for what happens in the world. May it be your will, therefore, that we act to protect human rights and human dignity. Help us to perceive the divine presence in every one of your creations, so that we may find favor and goodwill in the eyes of God and in one another. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, ruler of time and space, who fashioned the first human being in the divine image and endowed every descendant with human rights. For one who disgraces another person brings disgrace to the likeness of God. Baruch atah Adonai, creator of humanity and of human rights. Let us all say, Amen. Page 158. Yai, lai, 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 yai, la, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, la, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, ya, la, la, yai, la, 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 ya, la, 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 ni amo kaba, ni magoba, ni amo kaba, la babode, norate higo, se bebe, norate Page 161, we read together at the top in the English. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et ha-shabbat, la'asot et ha-shabbat, be'torah b'nei olam. Ve'shamru La'asot et ha-shabbat, be'torah b'nei prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. Page 164 for the beginning of the Tefillah, please rise. Shalom. Peace. Especially good. That piece we just sang. Lo yisagoy aloich Erev, lo yumadu milchama. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and they shall never against war. It's on the UN building, right near the Twisted Gun, right? They put the sukkah. Where they put the sukkah. Yeah. Oh, what's a sukkah? I don't know. What's a sukkah with you? Oh, that was me set up for a joke. If you're familiar, for those of you who may not remember what a sukkah is or may not have heard of one before, the Feast of Booths that's mentioned in the Torah, in the Bible, tells us that we should build a hut that we dwell in for 7 days, or we eat in. And if you have never had a chance to come see the one we have here, we have it, it's in the fall, it's a celebration of the fall harvest. And it's a beautiful environmental holiday. So that's a sukkah. So I guess that's where the sukkah is.
Across the street from the UN building.
Yes.
It's kind of a roundish thing. And they have the sukkah there, but they also have this quote. Right, it's in the wall.
I remember. I'm sure it's somewhere in my head. Thank you. Thanks, Maxine. One of our New York connections.
And a lot of homeless people sleep on the benches, right?
Well, it's a good message to sleep under. It's a good prayer to hopefully not have to sleep under it too long. There's a moment in the service that we always, well, it's not that we skip, we do it silently. And it's a prayer that's especially meaningful for tonight, for Human Rights Shabbat. And we're thinking about the rights and the dignity of every human being. And so turn with me to page 173. Maybe you read it during your silent prayer, maybe you glance over it, maybe you never noticed it was there. In the middle of the page, it addresses what I think is a common tension a lot of us feel about Shabbat, which is Shabbat, our day of rest, should be very peaceful. Well, what do we do on Shabbatot, on Sabbaths, where we're talking about or dealing with difficult topics about conflict, about the imperfection of our world, things that are very much not peaceful. And this reading addresses that. So I just wanted to share it with you. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai. Deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Shabbat. Blessed are you, O God, who makes Shabbat holy. So yes and yes, Shabbat can be peaceful, can be rejuvenating, restorative, and it can be a time to gather together and say, how can we rest when? Right? We can do both. Because we need both as human beings. It's so hard to just fight the fight nonstop and not rest and restore ourselves. And it's false and foolhardy to just take care of ourselves and not take care of others. Right? Traditionally, a sanctuary is built with windows. We are taught a sanctuary has to have windows. Why? So that we always see the outside world. We're always aware that it is there. We cannot shut ourselves off in our holiest of spaces from the world that surrounds us. It's an important teaching from our rabbis from long, long ago. So we're very grateful. Martin will be coming up to share a few words with us in just a little bit of a teaser of our presentation, which she will be sharing with us, which I had a chance to have a little bit of sneak preview of, which will be during the ONEG. And we are all really in for an educational and even spiritual treat. So we're so glad you're with us. Thank you as well to all of our Chester dignitaries and friends who are with us tonight. What a pleasure to have you all here. Really, really always a privilege. And Lauren, it's always nice to have you here anyway, because you're part of our mission. And to everybody, we hope that you are finding the right balance in yourself of Shabbat, of rest, and of that motivation to action. So we take our moment of peacefulness always, and we turn to the other, right? The other people in our lives who are suffering. And maybe it's family members, maybe it's friends, those who are ill, those who are in pain, those who are suffering. And we send a prayer of healing, a prayer for a return to wholeness, whatever that might mean for that individual, for all these people we care about. So tonight we are sending our prayers for a refuah shlema, a complete and speedy recovery, to Reagan Konecki, John DiNicola, Nancy Schwam, Sam Rosenblum, Miriam Swidler, Simon Alexander Petty, Larry Mancini, Charles Davitt, Debbie Clymer, Layla Phillips, Burl Bellows, Josephine Stricker, Cindy Rishal, David Ben Mayer, Arthur Myers, Iris Clark, Stacy Reed, Michael Price, Jim Nickel, Nan Kraszewski, Susan Furman, Marty Schichtman, Fred Schaefer, Francis Mose, Sophia Youngblood, and Dan Pear. Who are you thinking about tonight, and whose name would you like to share out loud?
Kevin Bartlett.
Ann Morrison.
Allie Brett, Susan Lapino, Newtown 26.
Michael Tesser, Michael Bean.
Brian Cutler, Claire Sutton, and John.
Carol Gister, Don Parker.
Yisberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Yimotenu Surav Rivka Leah Rachel Yivarech Yirpei Kol Cholim Ha'ela. May the one who blessed all of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless and heal all those who are ill. We pray, God, that they return to us soon with a healing of mind and of body and of spirit. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh Cholim. We praise you, God, who cares for the sick. Let us say together. Amen. Let's turn together to page 371 to join in Yisberach. ever take for granted. We praise you, O God, who allows good things to happen in the world around us. So let us all say together, Amen. And we have smachot, happy occasions, good things to celebrate, any birthdays, anniversaries, happy things going on. Oh, Beth, the hand went right up. What's going on?
Zach and all his beautiful hair turned 5 this week.
Happy birthday to Zach and his beautiful hair. I can't believe he's turning 5.
I know, it's crazy.
Well, you'll let us ask to him and many, many more in good health.
Jeff and I are going to Poland on Tuesday.
Safe travels. Have a great time. Where did Jeff go?
He's manning the door.
Thank you, Jeff.
So for a couple of weeks, you'll have to just lock the doors because he won't be here.
Okay, well, everybody, good luck getting in. No, we'll find a way. Thank you to Jeff, and have a wonderful trip with Tammy to your
We're spending with the in-laws.
Wonderful. Lovely. What else is going on in everybody's life? Please, Stephen.
My wife Chloe had a birthday yesterday, and our son surprised us by coming in from Chicago.
That's terrific. You'll let us sameach, Chloe. Yes, Ed.
So you may have read that we have a new grandchild.
Hooray!
Noah Sherman Woodcock.
How is Noah doing?
Good.
Gorgeous.
His mother reports he's a good sleeper.
Oh, that's a blessing. Congrats to the whole family on that one. Well, Mazel Tov. What an exciting and wonderful new chapter. Anybody else? Okay, so it is a privilege to invite up to the Bima Marta Daniels for a short, but really as long as you want, presentation to tell us a little bit about what is to come following our service.
Thank you very much. Every time I'm here, I feel uplifted, and I've been here many times for outwardly facing programs, but never for Shabbat. And as a Quaker, I had to look up what a Shabbat was, and I found out that it was a time, a moment, an evening of spiritual regeneration, rejuvenation. And that you light candles, and you let 3 meals pass, and then when 3 stars rise in the evening, tomorrow night, that's the end of Shabbat. And I don't know about all those things, but the first part of it, spiritual rejuvenation, is the right word for the way I feel every time I talk about Constance Baker Motley. And you are in for a treat to learn about somebody who always considered herself just an average person who happened to be in the right place at the right time, but we know her, those of us who found out about her, she was very hard to find out about, as someone who helped change history in this country, who helped take apart segregation. She lived here in Chester for 40 years among us, and it was a seasonal home out on Cedar Lake Road, and so we sort of have a very special privilege to honor her and keep her memory alive. The other thing that I did before I came here was to look up what the history was of the UN, Day of Human Rights Day, commemorating Human Rights Day, which was founded by the United Nations in the year of my birth, 1948, 70 years ago. And one of the things that I reminded myself of when I was reading about the founding of this day, which is really December 10th, that's when it's celebrated, but well, 4 days later, that's all right, and it commemorates Shabbat also, was that it grew out of the experience of World War II. And we all know what World War II meant for the Jewish people. It was a time when all the world tried to band together to drive out the terror that was that started with the affliction of one people. And if I had anything to learn from my study of Constance Baker Motley and the Civil Rights Movement and an understanding of Human Rights Day, it's this. We can talk about all of the wonderful laws that were changed during the Civil Rights Movement, the desegregation of water fountains and golf clubs and schools and anything you can think of. Those laws were changed, but it really wasn't about that. It was about the civil rights movement and the work of Constance Baker Motley and her colleagues was about destroying the terror that was at work in the South for being black in this country. That's what it was about. In the same way that World War II was a fight to stop the discrimination and the terror that was inflicted on Jewish people. So I think that that's a really important distinction, and if I want people to go away with anything from tonight's program that I will do, is that one person can really make a difference, especially if they have agency and they're persistent and they join with others. But the other thing I want us to know is that the work of the civil rights movement heroes and all of the minions of everyday people, the young people, and the women especially, is that they were driving out, they were dissolving and destroying the terror that was at work for being black in this country, in the South, since the end of Reconstruction, from 1877 to 1954, which was the beginning of Brown versus Board of Education that made segregation illegal. And the fighters, people like Constance Baker Motley, they were the ones who took that law and made it into a reality. And it was kicking and screaming the whole way. But it also is inspiring to know that it can be done. And we saw it in World War II, and we're seeing it, we saw it again in the civil rights movement, and God knows there are so many things today, right now, that we all need to help. So that's all I really wanted to say about I don't want to take so much of your time because it's late, but I have prepared a presentation that sort of gives the history of what happened before Brown versus Board of Education in order for you and all of us to appreciate the accomplishments of a person like Constance Baker Motley for overthrowing that terror and being courageous herself. So, and there was one other thing that I would like to do, and that is to make use of this time to introduce Jenny Kitson. I think we talked about this, yes? And this is the first time this announcement is being made to the town of Chester, something very special and completely honorable has happened to us thanks to the Chester Land Trust and to the owners of the Constance Baker Motley House who's not here. They were going to come, but he works at night, so it's hard for him. So Jenny, come on up. Jenny is a high-ranking member. She's not an officer, but a leader in the Chester Land Trust. And she would like to tell us about this.
Yes, we're very excited. We've just received some news at the beginning of this week that we want to share with you for the first time to the public. And I think I need to just step back and give you a little bit of a context first with regards to where we're going with this. 2 years ago, 2016, the Land Trust was able to purchase the 6 acres that is across the street from the Motley home. That same year, a very young couple, Dennis and Courtney Coleman, bought the house, and they are energetic and they're restoring it beautifully in terms of bringing it back to its original liveliness, if you will, when the Motley family lived there. So we've been working on that land and have cleaned it, and it has a storyboard about Judge Motley, and it has a picnic table and parking areas there, so it's open to the public, and soon next year we hope to be able to have a hiking path through there for people to bring children and people to enjoy the area and learn a little bit more about Judge Motley. So 2 months ago, with the extensive help of Marta here, we were able to put in an application to the Connecticut Freedom Trail, seeking their interest in hoping that we might be able to designate the Motley Preserve as well as the home to be a recognized, dedicated heritage site with regards to those individuals who have fought so hard for human dignity and the freedom of everyone. So this week we received a letter from the Freedom Trail, and I'd just like to read a couple of paragraphs to you because we're quite excited about this.
And it's a state organization.
Oh yes, well the Freedom Trail is under the, I actually wrote this down so I can remember it, the Department of Economic and Community Development, and they were established in 1995 by the state of Connecticut to be able to identify sites throughout the state that have this historic significance and importance for all of us to remember the strength and the struggle of these wonderful people who have brought human dignity to everybody. So, congratulations, Chester Land Trust. The members of the State of Connecticut Freedom Trail Committee have unanimously voted in favor of adding the Judge Constance Baker Motley Preserve and House, located at 99 Cedar Lake Road in Chester, to the Connecticut Freedom Trail. Constance and Joel Motley Jr., with their son, lived on this property for 40 years from 1965 to 2005. Judge Motley became the first African-American woman on the New York State Senate. In 1965, she became the first African-American woman borough president of Manhattan. In 1966, President Lyndon Johnson nominated Ms. Motley to be the first African-American to serve on the as a federal judge and the first African-American woman to serve as the federal district court in New York. She served on this court until her death in 2005. Her pioneering spirit in helping to pave the long and arduous path for freedom, equality, and justice is distinguished and remarkable, and for which the people of Connecticut are grateful. The inclusion of the preserve and the house among the Connecticut Freedom Trail will become a symbol of her work and a beacon for others who wish to emulate her passion for human dignity. It is my sincere hope that this designation will serve as an encouragement and protection and recognition for these important historic resources. Charles Warner, Chairman. So we are
You're the first to hear.
And I think we are the first land trust in the state to actually have the designation to have a site that's on the Freedom Trail. So we hope you'll come to the dedication in the spring when the weather's better and celebrate with us when the state representatives come to Chester to acknowledge this wonderful spot in terms of remembering
And the house is on the Freedom Trail too. They're right across from each other, and the new owners of the house said they would be honored to have their house placed on the Freedom Trail so people can see it and know that it belonged to Judge Motley. So, and I'm at my end, but I just want to say that I agree with Emerson that there is no history. There's only biography. And it's individuals who have changed our world in amazing ways, and so we have to remember that. Although I also agree that history is here to help us, so it's good to know it. So, thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Unbelievable breaking news from Chester, and what an honor that we get to be the first to hear this. So thank you so much. And thank you to Margaret Daniels for this mini teaser of what's to come at the ONEG. What I already adore about you is your enthusiasm about teaching. And I know that there's so much more for us to learn tonight. So let's turn to our, we're going to turn to our concluding prayers. There's just a couple of really quick announcements. Is my mic not on? You can hear me? Oh, that's even better. So this Sunday is my husband's birthday. That's not on here. But it should be. At 4 p.m. is the Chester Soup Kitchen site. Johanna, do you want to say anything about it?
We're good with volunteers.
You're good. That's an incredible joy.
It's been growing, so we're now serving 45 to 50 people.
That's, on one hand, we're grateful that it's there to serve these people. On the other hand, we're very sad to hear that it has grown. So thank you for everyone who's volunteering and helping out. Joanna, thank you for being our point person there. Next Friday night, the 21st, 7:30 p.m. is our next Erev Shabbat service. Keep in mind that, I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, this Sunday, that's what I wanted to mention, was the gallery. So do you want to say anything about the gallery?
Sure. That on Sunday at 11:30, we are gathering all of our students together. They have been working hard this year. They're exploring a particular question, and that question is, how does Jewish time impact life? Just a little question to think about. And they've been exploring that, and they have their Legos and their cooking and their multimedia work that they've been doing. And they will be talking about their experiences and showing us their projects, and you're all invited. They're fascinating kids to listen to.
Thank you. Sandy Herzog wanted to make sure everyone saw the post in this week's email that there was a Parkville school family who lost everything in a house fire. And so there's a list in the email of what we can do to help support this family, both for their home as well as for the holidays, so that they can still have a happy holiday. And thank you again to the Social Action Committee for sponsoring tonight's phone egg. Any other announcements, anything we're missing? Yes, Stephen.
Sunday seems to be a busy week, but for those who might be interested, and this sort of refers to your earlier teaching about not being complacent, we have a political director from J Street coming up to give us a talk about what the new Congress means for peace in the Middle East. And if anyone's interested in that, please let me know. That's at 11 o'clock on Sunday. In Madison. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's turn to page 586 for Elena in the middle of the page. Everyone please rise. Page 597. Yizkor, we remember. Remember our people who suffered and died so that we could be free and secure. May their memory be more than a distant shadow. For their dreams left unfulfilled and lives taken too soon, we remember. Remember our brothers and sisters whose sacrifice kept the dream of democracy and justice alive. May their courage be our inspiration and strength. Together, for life cut short and vision unrealized, we remember. Remember the fallen of our armed services, the victims of terror and tragedy. May the darkness of their loss not obscure the light of peace. They were in love with our land and in love with life. For the agony, the tears, the mothers and the fathers, for the children who were and for the children yet to be, we remember. page 598. In just a moment, if you hear the name of a family member or friend on our Shiva or Yortzeit list, and if you're comfortable doing so, we invite you to rise when you hear his or her name, and then remain standing so that we can offer you comfort, we can recognize your loss, and then we will all rise to join you for the recitation of the mourner's Kaddish. This Shabbat, we mark the recent passing of Donald Ruler, Sidney Retzky, Nora Rose Hines, and Saul Bloffer. We sadly mark the 6th anniversary of the Sandy Hook shooting. We remember Rachel Davino, Dawn Hochsprung, Anne Marie Murphy, Lauren Rousseau, Mary Sherlock, Victoria Lee Soto, students Charlotte Bacon, Daniel Martin, Olivia Engel, Josephine Gay, Dylan Hockley, Madeline Sue, Catherine Hubbard, Chase Kowalski, Jesse Lewis, Anna Marquez Green, James Mattioli, Grace McDonald, Emily Parker, Jack Pinto, Noah Posner, Caroline Praviti, Jessica Ricos, Abiel Richmond, Benjamin Wheeler, Allison Wyatt, and we remember Nancy Lanza. We mark the Yortzeits, the anniversaries of death, for Eleanor Adler, Samuel Adler, Rosalind Berwick, Bella Breslow, Harris Breslow, Rose Frankel, Jack Freed, Mary Pincus Goldstein, Ethel Goodman, Victor Gottfried, Constance Hyatt, Charlotte Kurtzberg, M.C. Lewitt, Anne Marcus, Muriel Moran, Yetta Sachs, Georgianne Schrepferman, and Max Zvadnik. Zichronam Livracha. Who else is marking a Shiva Shloshim or Yortzeit and would like to share a name out loud?
Wendy Rabinowitz.
The victims in Strasbourg.
Can you read?
All yours.
May all of their memories always be for a blessing. And now we all rise and we join in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma tivrach v'yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei v'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yimriu amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah v'barach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei t'kudshah b'richu, la'elam yimkol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yama v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'yirman, v'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and let us say, amen.
Please be seated. We will conclude with a song about peace as we transition to this next part of our presentation. O Jevo Shalom Aleinu on page 657. O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, Be'ahulam. O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, O Jevo Shalom Aleinu, Be'ahulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Shalom, salam, salam
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to move into the Oneg. Please get your snacks, your nosh, and then find a seat so that Marta can continue her presentation tonight.
Otherwise, we'll be here till tomorrow. 3-star drive.
Wait,
The 30th. Yeah. No, ours is February 17th.
I miss you guys. I miss you too. I can't wait for next week for our reunion. Are you sure that's all you need? Now, here's what I wanted to do. If I have time. Oh. Hey, hey. How are you?
My friend and I met at the wedding. I met her because of you.
Oh, she was at the table.
She was my seatmate.
It was the table.
I got all excited.
So have you looked really good? Color is black? It doesn't matter. Yeah. That seems
Power
good
of
to
prayer
me.
really works well.
Yes, it does.
A good attitude.
And a little bit of good medical.
What's that?
And a little bit of medical help too.
Well,
Oh, yes.